Next, we move on to a live online session. This is someone who has really the know-how of all the back end of how everything in retail and e-commerce works. This is Dr. Prakash Menon. He's an executive mentor. He's a black belt in retail. He's a chartered member of TAI Melbourne. He's joining us live from Australia, and he's been very kind to share his expertise and his time and all the offerings that he does for all of you who have registered. He will be giving a keynote in Supplychain, the retail game changer. PK, are you online? And if you are, you can go now. You know, resilience reminds me, I was going through the list of registered guests for this particular event, and I have to tell you, the kinds of brands and the kinds of designations and people who have joined in this event is nothing but resilience. It's you people who have really helped drive and sustain this entire shopping experience, which is not very easy to do when you're in the face of perhaps the worst pandemic that we have known in our time. So that's a great testament to you. And when we talk about resilience, it's all about working together with the right people, right partners, and keeping things going. Just give us a moment and we'll just work out this technical issue and we'll have him back online.
Okay, supply chain is sexy.
Yes, we hear you. PK, over to you. Thank you so much for your patience.
Rabia, thank you so much, and greetings from Melbourne. My name is Prakash Menon. My friends call me PK. I can't see your faces, but I'm assuming that you would love to know how to make some money. A show of hands. Is that a big show of hands, Rabia? Everyone saying show of hands? All right. Listen, supply chain is sexy. I start my presentation, every presentation of mine, I start off with this slide. Supply chain is sexy. You must think, what's this guy talking about supply chain and sexy? Well, I'll tell you what, even I didn't think this was the case till I was very fortunate. I was part of this great organization called Myer. That's a $3.2 billion retail giant, the largest department store chain of Australia, 1.2 million SKUs. I repeat, 1.2 million SKUs. I started off on the shop floor folding towels and sheets, and I was fortunate. I had some great mentors and teachers, worked across all small, medium, large format stores. Smallest store being 100,000 square feet store, largest being 280,000 square feet store. Got to the board in 8 years, the fastest appointment in the history of this iconic retail giant. And I was general manager for merchandise planning initially, which is an art and a science, as you can appreciate. And then I was the fortunate one where the company Myer was part of a conglomerate called Coles Myer, a $25 billion giant. And Coles and Myer separated because Myer, although 100-year-old iconic retail giant, was capital starved, poor systems. Can you imagine inventory being only updated once a week? 1.2 million SKUs updated once a week. So imagine, I was like this black hole, and I was one of the lucky 5 to go from the old Myer to the new Myer, because this was a prime candidate for a private equity takeover. Now, I don't know if any of you guys worked under private equity. This was one of the largest private equity takeovers called TPG, Texas Pacific Group. The Myer was bought over for $1.4 billion, I should say. And the very first question they asked me was, what did you have for breakfast? And I'm thinking, are you kidding or what? What are you talking about? What did I have for breakfast? I say, excuse me, what did you have for breakfast? I said, cereals. How many? I said, I'm not sure. I said, you better start counting from tomorrow. That is my background in short, where I was fortunate. They appointed me as a director of supply chain with no supply chain background. I could have crippled that company if I had blown the wrong wire. But I had a great team. The team did me proud. We took this company from negative $66 million profit to positive $25 million profit. And I'm not talking sales, profit in 10 months. And a whopping $290 million profit in 3 years. Is that a good number? $290 million profit in 3 years? Well, that's kind of what I'm going to share with you guys. And I've heard some of these amazing speakers, each of you guys talk about where you want to take your organization, your retail organization, be it small or large. And I'm going to give you a practitioner's perspective, no academic rhetoric. I'll give you exactly what it takes, where we took this broken retail supply chain and we made this into a world-class operation, literally in 10 months, and then subsequently, like I said, 3 years. So it's the mistaken identity. Even I didn't think what supply chain really I didn't understand that till I actually got into this space. A lot of people mistake supply chain as logistics. They think it is to do with dirty trucks and transportation. Far from the truth. Okay, so if I use the simple analogy, supply chain is like the human body. Okay, so if you think about, if you want to buy an apple, let's say, I can go to the orchard or I can go to a supermarket. I can buy an apple. That's what we call sourcing. That's part of supply chain. You bring it to your mouth and you bite. And I'm simplifying this, I know. You bite, that's buying. And then the apple goes, you can't have too many apples, okay? Because if you eat too much apples, you get, you will clog your pipe, really. So the pipe, the esophagus is what we call transportation. That's your mode of transportation, modalities. Air, sea, rail, road. So you want to make sure you streamline all of that, okay? So you get that through the pipe, gets into your tummy. The tummy is what we call warehousing, okay? There are different types of warehousing. There's composite warehouse, there is cross-dock, there is pick and pack, all of that, which you guys are familiar with. So and there's, push versus pull, all of these concepts you can talk about. Omni-channel, e-commerce, Q-commerce, all these buzzwords we can talk about till the cows come home. The factor, I'm just simplifying this, what retail in simple, but it's about the execution. So when it comes to the tummy, then based on that, what comes out of the other end is store operations. Okay, and there is another term called reverse logistics. Every bit of the process, the idea to cash is supply chain. If you get your human vertebrae right, the arms and legs will move and everything is humming. I think some of you guys touched on some of the, getting the fundamentals right. So we don't want to actually talk about building this Burj Khalifa building or the tallest building and talk about the 110th floor, 120th floor, but if the foundation isn't right. Okay, so really, I've been to Pakistan many times and know you guys so well because first and foremost, guys, I speak to you as a friend. Get your foundations right because get the fundamentals right because you can't get the fundamentals right. There's no way you can talk about first floor, second floor, third floor and all that. Foundation's got to be right. Then we go to that's the enablers. Then we consolidate and then we go in the trajectory mode because otherwise the building will collapse. And I'm saying that we don't want to build a castle on sand, a sand castle in short. Okay, so just giving you a practitioner's perspective, please, I'm only sharing my experiences here. So it is no longer the battle of retailers, guys. Get it right. It is the battle of supply chain. It is whose supply chain is more efficient, who is actually smart, and that is the whole game. So supply chain is the business. It's not about retailing, it's supply chain, really. Okay, so I'm passionate about this. 94% of retail failures happens because of process failures. I repeat, 94% of retail failures, regardless, small, medium, large, doesn't matter which part of the world you come from, it happens because of process failures because most of us work in silos. The buying organization, this buying organization is blaming logistics. Logistics is blaming stores. Stores haven't got a faintest of idea what buying is all about and they complain and they finger point each other and that's it. The whole game goes on. Yet people talk about this big word called integration without actually understanding what integration is all about. You need to integrate the whole thing. And as a supply chain director, whomsoever is heading up, the CEO, the chief operating officer of that company, they must be very clear in that direction right from the top because the fish stinks from the head. Okay, so get the strategy right and really get this whole thing flowing, humming. And then you have the buy, like I said, buy, move, and sell. You actually have to get your product right, the price right, the place right, the suppliers right, the processes right, the plan in place, the people right, how you present on the floor, and also eventually getting the profit. Okay, so you don't need to build a museum, guys. You don't need to spend millions of dollars to create this world-class supply chain. I'll simplify this. It'll be very exciting that you can go and start making lots of money for your own retail organization. If not, if you don't reinvent, you will disappear. Essentially, that's in a nutshell. You can see all this big, I remember 1994, I was new to Australia. I remember this big clunky mobile phone. My boss was showing off with his mobile phone. And Nokia, if you remember the silver Nokia, which came up and was the best in fashion and design, everything. Where is Nokia today? So I'm just telling you guys, it's not just about retail, but there are other challenges which are very important for us to get our basics right. And I'm just telling you guys, this is very, very important learnings for me. And for what it's worth, please just take this. These are some of the learning platform issues that I'm going to share with you. These are just simply my own practitioners' learnings. And we talk about C19, I call it correction 19. And I think Rana Saab spoke about it's like a leveler. Okay, COVID-19 is like a leveler, brought everyone down to Mother Earth. Okay, so we've got this amazing opportunity, any one of us, whether it be small, medium, or large, if you want to actually now pick up the game, this is our opportunity. And so I'm going to share some of the key learnings. Why do people struggle? Why do retailers struggle? Number one is that they don't know what they want, which means simply put, they don't have the clarity. They are not clear about what they want. They simply think that they want something, but they're not clear. So that is important. And even if they know what they want, they don't know how to get it, which means there is lack of competency. Competency is very different because you're talking about, you can have smart systems, but the system is only as good as what you feed in. So we need to have smart systems, which means you need to actually have good competency. And even if you know what you want and how you get it, someone or something is usually coming in your way, which is to do with your own mindset. Okay, so you got to actually think big. So go back to basics. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. Go back to basics, fundamentals. Okay, because it's a global village now, as you all know, customers are very savvy. We are all well-traveled. It's important because the buying behaviors change. I did not be dressed up from head to toe, color coordinated, suited, booted, nothing. I can be wearing my slippers on and I'll be sitting in shorts with a jacket on top. And actually I'm sitting in front of you in Melbourne right now. And I don't need to be trying to impress you with all this color coordinate and all that. That world has changed. I could be wearing a $10 t-shirt and a $700 pair of shoes, for example. So the pace has changed. What we know is not enough. We are changing all the time. So we need to be constantly innovating and really upskilling ourselves. There are no shortage of people on the planet. I repeat, there are no shortage of people on the planet. There is a shortage of talent. The two biggest assets for any retailer are, number one is inventory. Inventory can be the biggest asset for a retailer or the biggest nightmare for a CEO if you don't know how to manage it. Okay, so you can think that someone else is going to do this and put this under the blanket or the carpet. No, that is not going to evaporate. That will hit you like a ton of bricks. Inventory is like cholesterol. Like I said, good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Good cholesterol is good. Bad cholesterol will eat into your pancreas, spleen, intestines, all of that. And that's where it impacts your cash flow, your top line sales, bottom line profit. So you got to be very, very good with inventory management. The people in your team, they have to be very sharp with this. And secondly, it's about the people. People actually have to be skilled. And, we talk about bullwhip effect. I'm sure you probably heard of the term because people front load, inventory, and then they try to manipulate the system by actually getting the stock turned. If they don't know what they're doing, no matter how good the systems are, you need to actually be very, very good with this because you probably heard the term age inventory because the Titanic did not sink because of the top 10% visible to the naked eye. The Titanic sank because of the 90% which was underneath the water, which is all the cultural baggage, all the process issues, system issues, everything which we need to fix. Because if you don't fix that, good luck. Okay, so we can only talk about wishy-washy. We can choose to play victim or be victor. That's the key message. Are you going to be centralizing your warehouse? Is that your core competency? Or are you going to decentralize it? These are fundamental questions for you. Have you heard of the term open to buy? These are terms like every retail organization must be knowing what, and I'm very clear about that. Talk about just in time. Okay, we talk about just in time, getting inventory right. Talk about stock turns. Okay, so stock turns, again, you should be really good about supplier lead times, working very closely with your suppliers, really understanding what the supplier lead times are. Forecasting accuracy. I was with one of the, before joining Meyer, I was with KFC, for example, where I was asked to write a report to the US every week if I had 3 pieces of chicken wings left over at the end of the shift. 3 pieces of chicken wings. As to why did you get your forecasting wrong? And I'm thinking, are you kidding? What 3 pieces of chicken wings? Because 10 years later, I was managing $3.2 billion. So the principles of inventory management doesn't change, whether it's $3.2 billion or 3 pieces of chicken wings. Mediocre execution. Okay, this is again another reason why a lot of retailers fail. Rubbish in, rubbish out. Like I said, you can have smart systems, but it's what you feed into the system. Because, technology might be great, but do the people behind the system, do they know how to optimize the system properly? Otherwise, it's a waste of time, waste of money, waste of effort. It is not one size fits all. So it's not a cookie cutter approach that you go and, because every model is different. Footwear model is different to cosmetics, to jewelry, to fashion, to accessories. Every model will be different. Otherwise, we'll enter what we call derail strategies. Okay. Derailment doesn't happen overnight. Crash happens overnight. Derailment has already happened some time ago. Attention in versus attention out. Don't admire our own navel, in short. Okay, so look at how we can really get, sharpen up your processes. It's about getting your message right across your team. Because if you don't get that right, what will happen is employee disengagement. Employees will be disgruntled. They will actually not work, in cohesion, because you are only as good as the weakest link in your team, guys. I can talk about, I'm the director of Supplychain and $3.2 billion. But if my weakest link in my team, they don't know what the supply chain metrics are, merchandise planning metrics are, stock turns are, well, there's no way. We need to be also focused on above the line and below the line. Above the line meaning sales to first margin to markdowns to gross profit. And then you below the line is gross profit all the way to EBIT. They must know every line as a retail professional. These are mandatory requirements of a retail professional because productivity matters. Busyness does not mean business. Even ants are busy. So let's not be ants just running around without aimlessly. We must be very clear about working smarter, not harder. Okay? But the fact is, what you expect is what you get. So don't be surprised if you actually say, oh yeah, someone else is going to do this for me. No, there won't be anyone else. It's your responsibility. If this is you are the retail professional, then it's your baby. You got to actually raise the bar because if you're competing, there is no room for being 98%. 98% is not good enough. Okay, if that makes sense. So you got to be change makers, not change managers. That is the key message that for me actually. So it's all about integration. Now I'm going to leave you with some strategic imperatives which really help me change some of the things that we achieved. Customer-led, because people talk about customer-led without really understanding what customer service means. If you talk about big companies like Singapore Airlines and some of the great establishments who've actually had 50, 60, 100 years of iconic customer service, that's actually about turning the pyramid upside down. So the CEO is the more higher up in the organization. So instead of you being at the top of the pyramid, you turn the pyramid upside down, you are at the bottom of the pyramid and you are serving someone. If you're not serving someone directly, you serve someone who is. So the people on the front line, we should be serving because they are the ones who actually are the coal face and they are the ones who are really, in contact with the customers. The other thing is about absolute internal transparency. There is no 007 secret service. This is mine. I have the privilege of only knowing all the numbers. What about the rest of the team? You need to share the numbers. It's a common goal. It's like going onto the football field And if the players don't know what the goalpost is, they'll be running all over the place. So we have to really be clear, actually, what is the goalpost, what are the metrics, how you actually got to score, like T20 game or a cricket game, for example. So it's the same thing. So communicate. There is no such thing as under-communicating or over-communicating. Communicate.
PK,
Create heroes.
PK, I'm just communicating there about 3 minutes more.
Yeah, I won't be like, I'm going. Like, thank you, Rabia. Create heroes. Thank you, Rabia. Heroes. Measure everything. Okay, so costs matter. There are bad costs and good costs. So focus on the good costs, like, training, invest into training. We've been very fortunate that I've been working with TerraBiz. Thank you, Hamza. Thank you, Asfandia, Rabia, Rana Saab. They have a very clear vision. We're going to launch the retail courses in the academy in Pakistan. So we want to bring the foundation level right first and foremost, and that's what we will do. Fanatical simplicity. Don't bamboozle me with 40-page spreadsheets. I'm not going to be impressed one bit. And that's what my chairman told me. PK, don't try to impress me with 40-page spreadsheets. If you cannot summarize this on one page and bring in all the metrics on one page, then you don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so seeing is believing. I heard one of the speakers talk about visibility, because if you don't have proper systems which will give us the data, how are you going to measure it? Okay, so you need to make sure that we have all the proper systems. That's what I meant by enablers, getting proper systems in place. And that will allow us to lead to practicing mastery. Mastery where even if you want to get it wrong, you can't. You become that good. Don't romanticize and live on past laurels. What happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you got your trophy. So good luck. That is fine. That's great. You actually celebrated, but it's time to move on. It's about the future. The past doesn't equal the future. Sundown culture. If someone asks you a question in the morning, that is the speed you should be. Like if someone asks you a question in the morning before the sun sets, you should be answering that question, going back to the consumer or the supplier or the customer. Dialing up or dialing down. Okay, so you got to actually be flexible. Be a merchant. You're a retailer first, then a CEO or a CFO. Don't give me job titles. Be a merchant first. Talk to me like a merchant. Shop at home. Get your team members to take pride in what they wear and represent the brand. That is another great way of promoting. This is all part of supply chain, guys. Bad news travel faster than good news. Don't sugarcoat all the problems. And you actually think I'll only talk about the good news to my boss. First meeting agenda item for me was, PK, what are the bad news first? Because we can focus on the bad news and fix that first. Okay, it's about the can-do attitude, having the entrepreneurial mindset, address your priorities. Supply chain is sexier than ever before. If you make $290 million profit, of course it is sexy. So I'm going to leave you with 7 secrets. Number 1 is about understanding the cost to serve. Supply chain strategy, have a very clear strategy, have a sales and operations planning. This is not SOPs, SNOP. If you write it down, SNOP is sales and operations planning, not SOP. Okay, network design, very clear about that. Outsourcing, what you outsource and what you don't outsource. Asset utilization, every asset of yours, you should be very clear about how you measuring the performance and measured and optimized. It's about integration. So I leave you with this slide. There are 3 types of people you meet: those who let it happen, those who make it happen, and those who wondered what happened. I know we all know which one you don't want to be. So we all have this desire to do well. Desire alone is not good enough. You need to have the fire in the belly, but you also need to have the belief. You also need to be focused. You need to be committed. Interested does not mean committed. Commitment means you will do whatever it takes, and most importantly, take the action. And hence, I call it supply chain is the business. Thank you, Rabia, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions? Did you hear me all right?
PK, thank you very much. I realized everyone was applauding and I had the mic off. So can we just give PK another round of applause just so that he can hear it now? Super. Thank you very much, PK. And if the audience members would like to interact with PK or have your questions answered, please get in touch with TerraBiz and they will be more than happy to make the connection happen. PK, thank you very much for your patience, for your time, and we all wish you a very, very good night.